Our reading this morning comes from a professional storyteller by the name of Djelaba Baba. He is recognized as a practitioner of the ancient West African bardic tradition and has been recognized by the state of California for his work with troubled teens, working with troubled teens through the art of storytelling, modeling values in that way. He has a reading entitled Debating Me, Myself, and I. He writes, in 1979, I had a major conflict with a teacher who turned my world upside down and inside out. This was one of those pivotal moments in life where you can mark a significant change in yourself as a human being. I was a member of the school's forensics team, what is also known as speech class, debate, oratory. And in 1979, the Equal Rights Amendment was a very hot-button issue. Our speech class teacher let us know that we would be debating the Equal Rights Amendment the following week, and that we needed to come prepared. I was excited because it would be another opportunity for me to wipe the floor clean with whomever I was debating. I was young, competitive, and yes, arrogant. But having been reared by a single mother, I was very familiar with the issues the ERA was seeking to address. And because of my mother, I was also exceedingly passionate about this historic amendment. I labored over my preparations for this debate more than I had for any other that school year. I had witnessed my mother firsthand suffer not only the disparity in rights and compensation, but innumerable indignities as well, attempting to make a life for us in a male-dominated society and work environments. I showed up to class armed with a battalion of information and a passion unequaled by any of my classmates. Our teacher sat us down, gave us the usual instructions, and then she pointed at me and said, "You will be arguing against the Equal Rights Amendment." What? I screamed, and I must have yelled pretty loud because the room got deathly silent. Up to that point, she had always permitted us to choose the stance we would argue for, and I'd always chosen to argue the point of view that I agreed with. This wasn't fair, and I wasn't going to argue against the ERA. It wasn't in my makeup to argue against it. My sincere pleas not to have to argue a side of an argument that I was morally against had no weight with her. She repeated her instructions, divided the class into teams, and of course, she went on to make me the lead of the team arguing against the ERA. She gave us time to formulate our arguments and assemble our facts. I have to say this was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Words and ideas that countered my own philosophy literally choked in my throat and made my heart ache. There were a few times when my team was discussing our possible counterpoints, and I felt so angry I wanted to storm out of the room. But I had to set my own issues aside because, after all, I was the team captain. When it came time to debate, I made sincere attempts at rising to the occasion, but I fell short. Our opponents were wiping the floor with us, and as team leader, I had to accept responsibility for our poor showing. I was at an age when it hurt badly to lose. It was painful to listen to the opposing team articulate sentiments and facts that resonated so deeply with me, and then to have to counter those with dissonant ideas that practically brought me to tears. That day, I left the classroom feeling like an absolute failure. I left feeling like I had betrayed myself morally. I was young, very young, and these feelings were new and discomforting. Over the next few weeks, our teacher led us down a path of self-discovery that I will never forget. The importance of being the type of human being that is capable of viewing an issue from multiple angles is key to developing a healthy worldview. If I'd not been forced to experience the pain of that debate, I know that many of the opportunities that I have received in my life would have passed me by. Being forced to view life through the eyes of another was not easy for me in my youth. And now I see that it almost can be impossible for many adults today. When I reflect on this teacher, I think about how she helped to alter the way I see and I think about the world we live in. What she gave me was not part of any core curriculum that she was required to teach. I know that this woman saw us as developing human beings more than as students. I see the level of intolerance today as symptomatic of narrow-mindedness possessed by those whose intellectual development remains stagnant. I'm not sure what type of an adult I would have been had I not had this woman in my life to challenge my assumptions, but I know that I'm better for her having been in it. As we take just a moment to pause and reflect on this story, I invite you to reflect on this question. Thinking of an issue that you care strongly about, are you able to articulate both sides of the argument equally well? Does it even matter whether you can or can't?